finally at 6:30, they wheel me into my room and start hooking me up to monitors. And that's when everything changed.
Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. So we finally got my queen here, ready to tell her story, which everyone has been waiting for. But she's had a very busy month, so she has studied for her praxis test, which is a speech language test that she got her official license. So she's licensed therapist.
Yay!
Alright, so we're in good spirits. This story has been hard to talk about, but we're thinking of this as our little therapy session.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like it's gonna be good for us to just let it out, tell you guys a little bit about our story, and we're gonna start from the beginning. So if you guys are ready for this, make sure you hit this like button and hit that subscribe button if you're new to this channel, and get ready for our story. So to start it off,
first of all, grab a drink.
Yes, grab a drink. We have coffee
and some tea here. But also, first and foremost, I do really want to say thank you so much to everyone that has reached out and, you know, said a word of encouragement and prayed for us, sent us gifts. So much love and support, and we are eternally thankful, because obviously this is like the hardest thing that I think, like, as a parent and just in general, you could go through. So we are so thankful for all of your love and support. But to get right into it, if you don't know, we experienced a stillbirth, and that at 24 weeks, and followed by a hysterectomy due to placenta creta about 2.5 months ago. So first and foremost, we got pregnant around April 4th, which is like 2 days after Evan's birthday, which, if you don't know, he's our 1-year-old, Evan. So yeah, we got pregnant really quickly and found out around 6 weeks, and actually have it on video because I was trying to prank him. But definitely check that video out. We'll leave a link
right there.
So at 6 weeks, took a test, not ever thinking I would be pregnant, and it was positive. We waited until 8 weeks to go to the doctors. Well, really me by myself, because he wasn't allowed to go with me. And we heard I heard the heartbeat for the first time. And I got some like really weird news sort of at the time for me. I was very surprised. The doctor's like a little worried because it seemed that the baby was implanted really low in my uterus. So he immediately referred me to an MFM, which is maternal fetal medicine doctor. And usually most women will go to an MFM, but usually later on in pregnancy, just to confirm genetically everything is fine. So at 8 weeks, I'm referred to an MFM, and she also confirms that the baby is implanted really low in my uterus, and that she thinks I could have placenta accreta, because at the time the yolk sac, which is what becomes the placenta, was really low and looked like it was embedded in my previous C-section scar. And right then and there, she was like, listen, if you have placenta accreta, you will have your baby at 34 weeks and you will have a hysterectomy. And
they gave us an opportunity to make a decision whether we wanted to continue on with the pregnancy or we wanted to
like medical termination.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, an abortion,
basically.
Obviously, but medically induced, like in the hospital and everything.
Yeah. So.
And even before we got the second opinion, for me, and I feel like for you too.
Yeah.
Like it was not an option. Like in my head, I could not do that.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't. I don't know if you felt the same way or not.
Well, your life was at risk, so I thought about it differently. Like, yes, it would have been hard either way, but your life was at risk, and that was a decision I didn't want to be responsible for. So I made sure that you were okay with that, your decision, and your parents were okay with your decision.
Yeah.
Because that's something that they also would suffer. So it was really hard. It was hard to make a decision like that.
But luckily, we went for a second opinion.
Yes.
And actually got really good news.
Yes.
The doctor said that at that time, it did not look like I had placenta creta. She said, your baby does not look like it's growing in your C-section scar. She says, I would not recommend medical termination, but I do recommend you are like very closely monitored, and definitely it's a high risk pregnancy, but she said that she does not recommend termination. So obviously I was like ecstatic.
Yeah.
I was willing to do whatever it took to just, have a healthy baby, and obviously healthy me, because I have 2 other children and a husband. But we were so happy that at 8 weeks, I did not have placenta creta.
Yes.
So that was the good news.
Yeah.
Then things took a little bit of a turn around 11 weeks.
10, 11 weeks.
10, 11 weeks. I started bleeding.
Yes.
Like pretty heavy bleeding. Like not spotting, because sometimes they say at implantation, spotting is normal. This was not spotting. It was like heavy bleeding to the point where I fainted. And I don't remember. So what happened?
So, when this bleeding occurred, I was like panic mode. Evan still was trying to get to one of us, and he had just woken up on my nap actually, and she starts to bleed, and she starts to go into the shower. So she goes into the shower to make, I guess cool down or calm down. So I don't know if the water was too hot, but as I'm calling the ambulance to come get her or whatever it was, come check her out, she faints. And I have Evan in one arm, and I'm here trying to carry her. And then so he starts yelling and crying. So I'm carrying her, and I'm like, babe, please don't do this to me. Don't do this to me, babe. And
I'm not hearing anything.
yeah,
I'm totally out of it. I
out.
don't remember that at all.
She's out. So I'm like, then the call. I'm on the phone with the ambulance. I'm like, my wife just fainted. Please send somebody now. And then they asked me all of the information. I continued on. Finally, she woke up again, and I'm like, babe, come here. Let's go to the bed. So she got on bed. We put a towel under her because she was still bleeding. And I asked her, how are you feeling? Then right there, that's when the ambulance came in. And when the ambulance came in, they started asking her, how do you feel? What color was the blood? And that's how we know that, dark blood means it's old blood.
We'll never forget that. That was like the question every time I bled.
Yeah. Is it dark blood or...
It's a bright red.
And that's how we know dark blood was that. And,
that's when we found out that I had a huge subchorionic hematoma, which is, part of the placenta. At least this is what my doctor said. Not all subchorionic hematomas are the same, but in my case, it was the placenta detached, so placental abruption. And at that point, it formed a blood clot, like a really large blood clot, and the baby reattached like at the bottom, which is why it was implanted low. This is, what she tells me. And so for the next, 10 weeks, like at least 2 to 3 months of pregnancy, I was bleeding.
Yeah.
Like heavy bleeding.
Yeah. Like
filling pads.
Yes, pads.
Like not 1, not 2. Sometimes like I'd have to change them. Yeah. And
she had this one bleed again that caused her to go to the hospital.
Yes, because it was like not stopping. And it was really painful. So I was really scared, okay, I'm losing this baby. So went to the hospital, and thank God, his heartbeat was strong. The doctors are like, the baby looks fine. You are bleeding a lot though, so we want to keep you overnight and monitor you just to make sure that you're okay. So we did that and just kind of learned to live with this whole bed rest idea, and to the point where I literally couldn't do anything except for work from home, take a shower, and use the restroom, and back to bed.
And then we had our gender review.
Yes, which was amazing.
Yes.
We found out it was a little boy.
Yes, and the link was also in the description for the gender review if you guys want to see that as well. But yeah, we went through with the gender review. We were like, okay, we're good enough to know that the baby's healthy.
Yeah, his genetic testing came back perfect. He was growing right on track. The issue was my placenta. I have placenta previa, and I had a subchorionic hematoma, both which statistically are things that, you know, you will still deliver a healthy baby. And then how did you feel with me being on bed rest?
Yeah, so the whole bed rest situation was pretty big learning experience for me. As you can say it like that in a nicer way. I had to, you know, make sure I had the kids ready and they had to eat. I had to feed them and take care of them. But the biggest and most beautiful thing that I took from it was I learned how to be at home with my kids and enjoy that moment. Me and Evan were inseparable after that.
Literally.
He did not want to be with anyone else except me.
Stage 5 clinger.
Yeah. And, you know, I think I took that as that was a beautiful moment. You know, Camila became immediately like an older child and started helping and everything like an older child would do. And it's just like, it's crazy how much our life changed. All this happened. And I lost my job. So it was a bad thing, but a good thing because I was able to stay at home with them. So that's one good thing I take from it. Yes, I lost my job because of COVID and everything. So that sucked. But other than that, I learned to live with them, learned to do things.
Learn to live with us in what sense?
Like,
keep us alive.
Yes, keep you guys alive. Basically, feed our kids. Make sure my wife was good.
Entertain them.
Clean. I had to clean the house.
The bathrooms, the floors, the kitchen. Yes. But thank God for our family, my cousins who were cooking for us.
Yes.
Seriously, don't know what I would have done without you guys. You know who you are.
Yeah. Every time we needed food, they will come through with
and help us clean too.
Us out cleaning.
Yeah, like our little angels. But it was
perfect timing because they lived in Europe.
They lived in Europe, and God knew that I needed them, and they were here at that time.
Yeah.
But it was also hard on our relationship in a way because
there was no intimacy.
Yeah, we weren't allowed. From the moment we found out that I had Previa, we weren't allowed to do anything at all.
I guess obviously, you know, it's not like we lost any love. It's just it was harder for us to do anything really. It was the fact that we couldn't do anything.
Yeah, aside from COVID, which we you can't do much.
Yeah.
We really couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't go on walks with them.
Exactly.
I couldn't even go to the mall and walk around outside, like the outdoor shopping center. Nothing. Couldn't even go to Target. Nothing at all.
Like literally, I had to do everything.
Everything.
And not only that, I had to wait until Evan was asleep before I could do anything.
Yeah, because if not, he'd be freaking out.
Yeah, so like for a Target rent or shopping, any grocery shopping, I had to wait till he was asleep in order for me to go shopping because Arianna, I had to be back before he woke up.
Because I can't lift him.
Because he couldn't lift him. So that was another thing. That's just, thank God for Camila, really. Because Camila was our little big angel.
Yeah.
Our little big girl.
She definitely matured a lot in that time.
Yeah.
But in a way, I will say, it made us stronger.
Yes,
because, we couldn't obviously do certain things. So we were just, really connecting, emotionally and just, hanging out, watching everything on TV. We watched how many different seasons of things and different shows and movies.
Yeah. That's when we got into, what was that? What's that show on Netflix?
Utrecht, Son of Utrecht. Kingdom, The Last Kingdom.
Yeah, The Last Kingdom. Oh, man.
If you haven't watched it, go watch
Amazing. But to continue on.
Okay, so after that, bed rest up until 20 weeks. I went to my 20-week appointment. And the doctor was really happy. She said he was looking great, growing right on point. Everything looked good. And she was even surprised that my placenta looked better. It looked like it was a little higher.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh, is this going to go away? Am I not going to have placenta previa? We were so hopeful.
Yeah.
I asked her, I was like, can we go on a little beach getaway for a few days? She was like, yes, as long as you're not lifting anything and, you're resting at some points.
You can even get in the pool.
She even said I could get in the pool. And I was like, really? Okay. So I just sat in the pool while we were there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like really nice to get away. Everything was fine.
And we also had that on video. So
yes, our CAPTIVA beach getaway. But then everything changed. At 24 weeks, I went to my 24-week appointment. I walk in, the ultrasound tech starts, scanning my belly. And she asked me, did your water break? Have you been leaking fluid? Did you have your membranes rupture? And I'm like, no, not that I know of. Obviously I think I would know that. The only thing that I know now, looking back, is, every time I would go pee, there'd be like a little bit of pee that comes out after. I thought it was pee. And, they always said that was normal because this is your 3rd pregnancy and there's a lot of pressure on your bladder. And little did I know it was really amniotic fluid I was leaking for about 2 weeks. And, then the doctor comes in and starts scanning me as well. And then she calls me into her office and is like, listen, I have some not so good news for you. Your kid is fine. Those were her words. That's what she always said. She called him, your kid. Your kid is fine, but you have I don't even remember the number now. I think it was 1.4, something like that.
Yeah,
fluid.
A very low number. Very
low, extremely low number of fluid left. And you need to go be checked into the hospital for 10 weeks until you're going to deliver him at 34 weeks. Because you need to be 24/7 monitored, monitoring you and the baby. So obviously I broke down. I couldn't even imagine, being away from them for 10 weeks. I literally couldn't imagine it.
I couldn't, because at the time, I couldn't imagine it either, because at the time, she was allowed to do certain things, 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was able to
so
walk,
she was able to
do little
help,
things.
Yeah, she was able to help, at least with cooking, because I missed her cooking. So, she was able to cook again and do little things that would help so much. Even though I would monitor her, every time she was up for 5 minutes, I'm like, all right, you did this part. Now go ahead and sit down and rest for a second.
Yeah.
And then I'll help out as much as I can, and then she'll get back into it. So. But
yeah, she literally told me I was breaking down. Are you serious? Is this the only option? I can't just not even get up at home. She's like, no, you need to be monitored at all times from now going forward. And so, I called my mom right away. I called Jestyn right away. My mom was on the next flight, that Friday, and she's like, the doctor said you need to go home, have lunch with your family, say goodbye, and be there by 5. Be there at the hospital by 5. They're waiting for you. So that's exactly what I did. I came home. We had lunch. I started packing all my things, packing things for a 10-week, stay at the hospital. And I just, I was at that point, just totally whatever it took so that I had a healthy baby, we were willing to do it. It was going to be 10 weeks of really hard times, but it would have been a lifetime of health for him. So we were willing to do it. And we left the house around 4 and got to the hospital 4:30. It took a really long time, from 4:30 to 6:30. They did a COVID test. They had to wait for the results. I was just sitting there in the lobby. Finally, at 6:30, they wheel me into my room and start hooking me up to monitors. And that's when everything changes. But we're gonna continue with that part of the story in the next video, because if not, this will be 3 hours long. So please stay tuned for part 2 of this story.
Yes. So thank you guys for watching. If you like the story so far, make sure to hit that like button and hit subscribe if you're new to this channel, because we still have more to keep going. Alright, so we love you guys. See you guys on the next video. Screw it.
Don't need someone to say